What if the biggest threat to creativity isn't failure, but the temptation to skip the process entirely? Welcome to I Have Questions with Michael Ruland. That's where we're going to begin in part 3 of my conversation with Kestral Gaian. In this final chapter, we're going to dive into Kestral's thoughtful and deeply human perspective on AI, creativity, and why the joy of learning matters more than ever. We're also going to get into Pride Month representation and authors Kestral believes everyone should be reading. And yes, the now famous cat, Compton, who also makes a very memorable appearance. Are you ready? Good. Because
I have questions.
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 I'm paying the food that doesn't have questions, which I do.
so now back into a final big one that I've been thinking about lately. And so, basically this whole time you and I have been talking about storytelling from just such a human feeling, right? And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the current big deal, which is AI, right? And I do know that you are an advocate against the current AI trend, and rightly so for many things. It's a slippery slope, but let's just straight out ask what concerns you the most about how AI is being used in creative spaces?
It's a difficult one for me. I think I spent a long time working in the technology industry. My day job was building new things, and AI was certainly on the horizon when I was working there. And this kind of current wave of kind of smarter chatbots. I don't love the phrase AI because it's not really AI.
Yeah.
This is just language models fed into chatbots. It's really interesting. And I think there are so many potentially positive applications of technology like this. I think it can really help with accessibility for people with disabilities. I think it could really help in medical fields when a lot of the processing behind these chatbots, not the chatbots themselves, are put to work identifying differences in large data sets like images of tumors and things like that. I think the problem that we have, and this has been a problem within the technology industry for a while, but it's very pronounced with AI, is that the technology itself is not bad or evil inherently. Behind what we know as AI right now is a set of algorithms and language models that can do a lot of really interesting things and could have a lot of really interesting applications. That's the technology. That's not evil. But the implementation of it and the way that it has been marketed and sold is what I have an issue with. The technology itself could be harnessed for great good, but it has not been. The way that the marketing exploits people into paying a lot of money for things that don't provide a lot of value. The way that this technology has been stuffed into these kind of human-like creations to play on our kind of cultural awareness of what AI has been in movies, to try and evoke people into thinking, wow, this is the future, this is brilliant, let's buy it, when really it's not very smart. Every AI chatbot says for entertainment purposes only, this chatbot can make mistakes. And yet people are staking the reputations of their businesses, their storytelling ability, their ability to educate on using a chatbot. And that, I think, is what's scary, because at the moment we are in a place where, and you will have to excuse me for a second here, I'm just telling my cat off for eating a plant that he shouldn't be eating. He wanted my attention.
Yes, he knew it.
I think the danger with the current state of AI is that it has been missold to a lot of people as this artificial intelligence, as something that can help you. It's basically saying to people, you don't have to learn how to do the hard thing. get the AI to do the hard thing for you. And what that does is it kind of sucks the process out of the situation. And you may think, great, we live in a results driven world. I can generate all of these things automatically. But even ignoring the fact that it's generating it based on stolen work, even forgetting the fact that in order to generate that one image, ChatGPT has just, evaporated an Olympic swimming pool of water and drained the power out of a small town. Even forgetting those things, which are huge, huge environmental concerns, you are absolutely robbing yourself of the joy of learning how to do a thing. Just because you're giving in to the idea that everything in the world has to be quicker, faster, cheaper. And we are all, as humanity, being exploited by this idea that we have to do things better, quicker, faster, cheaper. And here's a chatbot that can do that for you in a really generic way. It's genericizing media like nothing else. You can tell when a picture's been AI generated because it looks boring. And but it's good enough. And so people are using it and are completely unaware that they're robbing themselves of the joy of learning how to do something.
Yep.
If someone desperately wants to be a writer and thinks, well, I'm not sure I'm ever going to be good enough, so I'm going to use AI to do it. I'm like, well, you're not a writer. You're still not a writer. If you really want to be a writer, then open up a text editor. Open up a notebook. Do anything and just write. Because of course you're not going to be good at it at first. Nobody's good at anything. Well, some people are, but they are very special indeed. Nobody's good at anything when they first try it, but it's only by doing things you get better. So you are never going to improve at the things that you want to do if you use AI to do them for you. And that's sad because it's just taking things that could enrich our souls, could enrich our humanity, and throwing them away and just going for the quick results.
Yep. Yeah. As a former high school math teacher and administrator, even before AI, so 15 plus years ago, I used to always argue with my high school math kids that it was about the process. It's about learning how to learn and learning how to make those mistakes. And I think that's, like you said, where I worry AI is taking away that what should be the joy of learning.
It's not AI that has caused this problem. It's AI is a very convenient exploitation of the problem. The problem started when we stopped teaching people how to find joy in learning, when we stopped teaching critical thinking, when we standardized every test and made sure that everything was just about ticking a box. And that's not just 10 years ago. That's the last kind of 50, 60 years of education development. We have bred a system where people just see that they need to tick boxes, and that's what education is, and it doesn't matter if they love the learning or not. And what that has meant is that we've just kind of got this populace that is so ready to exploit, and then suddenly AI comes along, and the people that want to make a lot of money go, well, we've got this whole society who are going to be suckers for this, and they've made a whole bunch of money out of it.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of it that way. You're right. This has been in the works for a generation or two. Exactly.
And if it hadn't been AI, it would have been something else that took advantage of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That I have to remember that and not pile on to one thing. You're right. It's a much bigger societal issue. As an old teacher, I qualm in that. So, all right, Kestral, as we start to wrap it down, what is one question that you wish people asked you more often throughout your day, throughout your week? Is there one question people would say, Kestral, I want to know?
Yes. I wish people would ask me whether or not I would like a sandwich. Sorry, that's my less serious answer. I love a sandwich.
You know what? Sometimes it's true. I like that. What kind of sandwich would I have to make you if you came over?
See, I just love the sandwich is a canvas. The sandwich is an art form. I really, really enjoy the sandwich genre of food. You could put something in between two slices of bread and it
Yeah,
immediately elevates it, which
and
is
you're
brilliant.
in.
Like spam, such a basic, salty. Put it in a sandwich with a couple of other bits, like some fresh onion, and oh, it's amazing. It's brilliant.
And you're in.
So, but I think just I wish people asked why more often. I think I wish people were more curious and felt that people were open enough to be able to have that conversation. I'd
Mhm.
never mind someone saying to me, why do you do this? Why are you wearing that top? Why is your hair like that?
Yeah.
Or anything like that. When there's genuine curiosity behind a question, it's difficult to get upset by it. And I think more people asking more questions is never a bad thing.
I feel like you just became the advertisement for why I started this podcast, actually. My very first one was actually about my oldest, whose name is Emily. Um, they would ask hours of questions when they were a toddler and growing up. And then as we get older, we're told, shh, you're in public or not too loud or
Well, that's not an
I've already
appropriate
answered that.
question, and yeah,
Right.
those kind of things.
And to be frank with you, that's exactly kind of the impetus behind what I'm doing is let's get back to that curiosity question asking stage of
Well,
our lives because we'll all
living
be better off.
coming at all situations from a place of curiosity, I think is a wonderful way to approach things. Like rather than approach something you don't understand with fear or with anger, approach it with curiosity, and then you're always going to take away something from that encounter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
normally so will the other person or the other thing or group.
Yeah. Brilliant. 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 All right, Kestrel. Now we have what I call my curious questions. How appropriate. There's 5 of them. They are one word answers or sentence answers or paragraph, whatever floats your boat. Generally I try not to interject, but I'm a loudmouth, so that's kind of hard for me, but I try. And the first question is going to be interesting because it's going to be a British word versus an American word. So
Okay.
here you go. Your favorite holiday?
The May bank holiday. So we have a number of public holidays called bank holidays in the UK, and there's always one at the start of May. It's mostly near my birthday, and the weather's just started getting nice. You get a day off to just enjoy the change in
Yeah,
season. I really like.
awesome. So you use the word holiday the way we did then. I've asked
Yes.
somebody recently who who's from Britain and moved to New Zealand and asked her about the holiday, and she went on what we call a vacation, right? Took a couple weeks and talked about it. So that yeah. Anyway, the May Bank holiday, awesome. All right, a place where you personally absolutely need to visit in the next 10 years.
New Zealand, ironically, having just heard
Ah,
you say that.
nice.
Been wanting to go since I was about 10. So need to make that happen at some point.
Yeah. Lots of worse places to go than New Zealand, that's for sure. All right. So this one's a little different than that. A time period, not a place, a time period in history or the future of the universe you would like to visit for one day.
Tough. I would like to go back exactly 100 years. I just want to see, okay, we've seen all of this in history books, but right now we don't really have that many people, and I certainly don't have any in my life, who could tell me what life was like 100 years ago, I think we'd get a lot of empathy and understanding from that journey.
Yep, that's awesome. A recent guest of mine literally picked exactly 100 years in the future. And
I think that would also be interesting, but I'm scared of 100
Yeah,
years in the future at this point in time.
yeah, and the reason that you remind, or I was reminded of that, is then we talked about how 100 years ago, people then would never even be able to dream where things are now, right? So I love that, going back and seeing that. So, all right, your favorite book you have ever read. And I'm tempted to say, nah, I'll just leave it at that. Your favorite book you've ever read.
The favorite book I have ever read, and I'm just looking up the author here, so I get it absolutely right. Yes, it's a book called Habitus by James Flint, who's a British sci-fi author. He's written 3 books in his lifetime. He's a very unknown, kind of underappreciated author. But I read that book, Habitus, when I was 20, and it was just equal parts sort of harrowing and life-changing, I think.
Nice. Thank you. And then last one, the one food that makes you think of home. And don't say spam in a sandwich with.
No. I unironically love Spam, but I think the food that makes me think of home the most is probably mushrooms.
Interesting. Can I ask you to expound on that? You don't have to.
You can, absolutely. I went through a period when I was younger, when I was a child and growing up, that I tried to eat as little meat as possible. And that kind of coincided with a period of us not having a lot of money. So we couldn't really afford meat either. So I was kind of de facto vegetarian during that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of our food became quite experimental as a result of that. And there was kind of one constant that my mum knew she could feed me that I would always eat. And that was if she put mushrooms on top of something, I would normally eat it. Not even cooked mushrooms, raw mushrooms. I like raw mushrooms. I prefer veg raw, to be honest. So she would just put raw mushrooms on top of things to make them a bit more appetizing, and I would eat them.
Awesome.
And so mushrooms very much make me feel like if I've got a dish and it's got mushrooms on top of it, it's like I've just walked through the door and I'm 10 years old and I've got home from school, you know?
That's awesome. By the way, that is exactly why I asked that question. So, because that's right. It's not, it's just that thing that makes us us. So awesome. Well, thanks for humoring me on the curious questions.
They were a lot of fun.
I quite frankly, I find that I learned so much about people with those 5 questions. It's so cool. So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you may go for it.
If you could pick one sandwich filling, what would it be?
I will tell you straight out. It's a little shop in the middle of North Dakota, and it's called Cloverdale Meats, and they make a summer sausage that is to die for. And growing up on the farm, my grandma, and to this day, my family thinks I've lost my mind, which is fine. I have a little bit of butter, and then a little bit of fruit jam, and then summer sausage smacked into a sandwich. And it is the meal. It's my last meal, as well as my favorite sandwich.
Amazing. That does sound fantastic. And now I'm craving a sandwich.
The jam probably is a little sweet to knock out some of the earthiness of the summer sausage, I would imagine from a cook's point of view. I think back then it's because, my grandma and mom and they all canned everything. And so you always had fresh preserves around. So anyway,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
So there, that you got my home food and my favorite sandwich and my last meal all in one.
Fantastic.
So, all right, 2 more things and then you're done and you can say goodbye to me. Can I ask you to give one piece of advice to a new teacher?
Leave any expectation you have at the door, because when you look at a young person, I've worked with young people over a number of years, you can often make a bunch of assumptions, and all of them are going to be based on your own life, your own experiences, and the lenses that you have looked at life through. That young person is not you, and they are probably nothing like you. And so any expectation you have of them about how smart they are, which is a phrase I dislike anyway, or their home situation or their curiosity or what has led them to standing in front of you, none of those assumptions are valid. Blank slate, get to know them on their terms, let them lead.
Bravo. Brilliant. Exactly right. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Last one. Your turn. You've already kind of butted the line on your turn, but that's all right. Your turn.
I'm sorry.
The show. No, don't be sorry. Are you kidding? That's awesome. The show is yours. Did I miss something? Is there anything you would like to add? Oh, and before you're done, you need to tell everybody where to find your books. Is there anything you would like to add? Or do you have another question for me?
Well, I think I've covered the question for you with the sandwich one, and I'm always exceptionally curious about what people would put in between 2 slices of bread. I think it's an interesting way to get to know someone. Your first question is always, so what would you put in a sandwich?
Yeah,
But
I love
think
it.
you mentioned at the start that it's Pride Month, and I think that's it's a really interesting time of the year, because we see so many really vibrant, really great things out there, and I think it's really, really important to say to anyone listening that Pride is not prescriptive. If you don't see something in Pride Month that feels right to you and your identity, that's okay. Don't feel like you are any less because you're not this stereotype or that stereotype or fitting into this box or that box. One of the greatest joys in life is working out who you are, who you love, what you believe. Doesn't matter if that doesn't all come at once. So whoever you are just valid and wonderful, and just do the things that you think you love in the moment and see where it takes you.
Awesome. Well said. Well said, Kestral. All right. So, where can people find your books? Right. We covered your newest one is The Boy from Elsewhere, and
That's
I
right.
think
And
it's your
the
newest.
sequel to that is coming out in February next year. So book 2 in the
Okay.
series is on
Awesome.
the way. There are 2 other poetry books, another fiction book, and a non-fiction book that you can pick up as well. All the information about my books, my blog, various different social medias, all of that thing are all on my website, which is a really easy web address. It's just my name, so KESTR.AL. So just put a dot before the AL, and that'll take you to my website.
Cool. And sign up for his newsletter, and you too can get a review of hospital food.
I do talk about food quite a lot in my blog. Yes,
it made me giggle. I really loved that post, Kestral. It was awesome. So,
thank you.
Kestral Gaian, I absolutely appreciate you taking the time to spend with me. I hope you found it okay. I found it awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Really fun.
I wish you nothing but the best. And maybe with any luck next February, I can track you down and introduce book 2 in the series. So
Be a
we'll
pleasure.
see what happens next February, huh? Have a great day and take care.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
And that brings us to the end of this 3-part conversation with Kestral Gaian, a journey through identity and storytelling and curiosity and queerness and creativity and the courage it takes to truly see the world as it is. Across these 3 episodes, Kestrel reminded us that stories just aren't entertainment. They're really mirrors. They're survival tools. They're bridges between people who might never otherwise meet. We explored the power of names, the art of noticing, the beauty of lifelong learning, and the importance of asking why, long after the world tells us to stop. We talked about pride and representation and the freedom to define yourself on your own terms. We've talked about AI not as a villain, but as a symptom of a world that sometimes forgets, quite a lot of times, forgets the joy of learning, the joy of being creative, and the joy of asking our own questions. And we talked about sandwiches. Yes, because sometimes the simplest questions reveal the most about who we are and where we come from. If this series resonates with you, please subscribe, like, and share. It's free to you. I say that all the time. But it helps more people find this conversations, and it keeps our community of curious-minded, question-asking humans growing. So, thank you for listening. See you next week. Stay curious and keep asking questions. P.S. So, before we close today, I want to talk about something that, every July for the last, almost 20 years is taking over my world. I am not a biker. You can see by the look, or a mountain bike guy or anything. But I want to take you to the road that winds through mountains and villages and lavender fields and centuries of history. The road that millions watch every summer, even if they don't ride a bike at all. That road is, the Tour de France. On the surface, it's a race. It's 2,000 miles of climbs and sprints and crashes and courage. But, if you look closer, the tour is really a moving classroom. Every stage passes through places with stories that are older than the sport itself. There's Roman bridges, medieval towns, vineyards, tended by the same families for generations. The riders fly past them in seconds. But the Tour de France does amazing at keeping the stories there and letting them stay with us. And here's the part that sparks my curiosity. The tour isn't just about who gets to Paris first. It's about what you notice along the way. Travelers who follow the race often say the same thing, that the real magic isn't that finish line, but the journey. The tiny cafes tucked into mountain passes, the church bells ringing as the peloton sweeps through the village. I love that part. It's so amazing. The way the landscape changes from the Alps to the Pyrenees to the quiet roads of Normandy. Watching that tour becomes a way of learning about France and Europe itself, its geography, its culture, its rhythm. Who knew watching a bike race, which, 40 years ago, I would have compared to watching paint dry, right? But who knew that it would be so powerful to be curious? And maybe that's the lesson for all of us. Curiosity isn't a sprint. It's not. It's a long ride. It's a willingness to look up, look around, and let the world teach you as you move through it. So, as you step away today from this episode, carry this with you. When in your life can you travel with Tour de France curiosity? Noticing the small details, the hidden stories, the things you usually rush past. Because You know, the tours should remind us that the journey is never just about the distance or the destination. It's about discovery and curiosity. Peace, love, are.